Okay, this is a review and analysis of the Extralite Cyber Front SL front road hub made by the Extralite company of Italy. Now, before I start this video, I would like to point out that I'm a little bit of an Extralite fan, so that might taint this a bit, but I'll try and be as objective as possible. Okay, so let's go on with it. This hub retails at about $160, $170. It weighs 48 grams apparently, although I just weighed this and it's 49, so they're disgusting liars. It is very, very similar to the top end Cyberfront SP hub. We'll talk about the differences later, but apart from a very small difference, it is practically identical. I have only just taken delivery of this today. I'm building it up into a wheel set for one of my friends, so I haven't ridden it. However, I have ridden extensively the Cyberfront SP, which uses all the same internals and is pretty much the same hub in terms of the mechanical moving parts, so I therefore feel that I can give some insight into how that works and therefore how this one works. Okay, so first of all, let's look at all the parts, check out what they've done, how they've made it, what's good and what isn't so good. Although, as I said, a bit of an Extralite fanboy, so don't expect much on that. Right, so let's start at the beginning then. This bit, Extralite call that the spacer tube. Now, this is identical to the one they use on the Extralite Cyber Front SP, so it is the same part. This is the middle of the hub. It's extremely thin, very light, about 5 grams. It is slightly thinner in the middle. I don't know what you call that, fluted, is it? Slightly thinner in the middle. It's been machined to buggery. Apparently you've got to put that on the left side, although I can't figure out why they wanted to do that, but whatever. So that's the middle part. 2 flanges here. Now, this is what sets apart the SP and the SL hubs. The SL is, well, a classic flange in that a J spoke will go through there. This is the 20 spoke version. You can get it in a 16 spoke, I think. Could be wrong. Yeah, so it's got a 6801 bearing in the middle, which is a 12mm bore. Okay. There you go. This is the axle. Now, one end of the axle is different to the other end. Why? Get onto that in a minute. This is a 7075 material, as is all this stuff. It's threaded in that end, and this end's got this sort of complicated load of stuff going on here. Now, the way it works is this part screws in to the larger hole at the end. The flange sits here. Now, this is what in engineering terms is called the locating bearing side. So that just holds in position and is non-adjustable. Then on this side, you put the other flange on, and that's where this part comes into play. This is the micro adjuster that Extra have come up with. It goes on and just screws down until you get the required amount of bearing preload. Then you get this bit, pick it up, and that just clicks onto the end, and that's your dropout bit on that side. That's the dropout there. So very simple, but obviously very well thought out, or they've thought a lot about it. Let's look at this end piece here. It's got an O-ring in the middle there, which gives it a bit of purchase. As we get more into the analysis of Extralite stuff, you'll see that the guy who designs it is quite into using O-rings in a variety of different ways and places. It's almost genius, some of the ways he's done it. We'll get into that later. Right, so let's put this together in front of you and then see how it goes, because it is quite easy. Okay, now that's located. To lock it down, you need to get a 5mm Allen key in that side and a 5mm Allen key in that side. So if you've only got one 5mm Allen key, get another one. That'll drop in there. That drops in there. Now, when you first take this apart, if you take it apart, you'll notice that this part is screwed on pretty tight. So that means that they want you to have it pretty tight. So okay, so there. Let's just do that for the time being. We'll use a torque wrench to get it properly done later. Okay, so that's the locating bearing in place. Then the other flange goes on. Now this is a bit more difficult because you've got to get the bearing in as well. Okay, so now the other flange is on. We will screw on this micro adjusting system. Now this gets a bit tight here because lo and behold, he's used another O-ring in there to give it some purchase. Okay, there you go. See what's going on. You can use a 16mm spanner to hold this while you turn the other end. But because the Cyber Front SL doesn't have the same flange as the SP, which covers the micro adjustment system, you can hold it with your fingers if you've got strong fingers, and just keep turn it around and round and round until it fits, until it gets in position. Once that's screwed down, then finally you will just stick on this drop out end piece, and that's it. It's all together. A very simple system compared to the tuned MiG-45. Well, you can see why this one is, in my opinion, superior. The flanges, when you put the spokes through and build and start tensioning the wheel, will auto-align because they are separate units to the spacer tube. So you don't have to think about getting it lined up or anything like that. It just does it by itself. And that's really it. Very simple. In terms of dimensions then, the centre to flange is 38mm, which is less than the Cyber Front SP, which I think is probably the widest front hub you can get. And the reason is this. This is the flange from the Cyber Front SP. So you can see that when it's in the same position on the spacer tube, it sits a lot further out, giving you that extra width. So obviously that'll be extra width on both sides. But you can see the trade-off there when you're using this flange. It covers the micro adjustment system. So the micro adjustment system will be sitting inside this with this like a hood over the top of it, which means adjusting it and opening up for servicing is more difficult, which is a consideration. Everything else is the same. Now, real world usage of this, again, as I say, I haven't ridden this one. I've never ridden a Cyber Front SL, but I have ridden the SP a lot. So the internals being the same, I've never had any problems with it. It's never creaked. It's never come loose. I have replaced one of the bearings in it, but that was due to it just being ridden a lot and in the rain sometimes as well. Bearings die eventually. Replacing the bearing is very easy. You just take the system apart as I showed you, tap the bearing out, push a new one in. Really, really easy. I haven't built this into a wheel yet, but if Extralite have paid the same amount of attention to detail and tested it as well as they have the SP, it's going to build into a very solid wheel. Something I noticed between the Cyber Front SP and the tuned MiG-45 is that the Cyber Front SP the spokes seem to hold their tension for longer and require less truing than the tube. Now, I'm not sure if that is anything actually to do with the hub or something else. However, it might be. So that's really it. I mean, it's a front hub, pretty simple, very light, high quality machining. In terms of the company as well, whenever I email Extralite and ask them a silly question, they always reply in a timely fashion. And it's often quite amusing as well, the the replies you get. You can just imagine the guy sitting in his office reading stupid questions that he obviously knows the answer to, and looking out the window and just sort of saying, "Oh God, another idiot." You can kind of sense the weariness of the response to what should be very obvious. So yeah, he seems like a nice guy who's doing this, and his products are good as well. Again, not perfect though. Nothing is. But if you want a lightweight front hub that's easy to take apart and builds into a decent wheel, this is a good one to go for. If you're willing to faff about, then you can go for one with these flanges on it. Get the straight pull spokes, get the slightly extra width, save about 1 gram, and go for the SP. But this is a decent hub.